At the moment we're at the winery, which is Amato Vino is our winery, and we are old school traditional low-fire winemakers. So what that means is, in looking to the future, we're looking to the past in how we do things. So less of the technology, less of the science, more of the grunt work, the hands-on, small batch winemaking with a focus on, you know, sustainable agriculture and natural winemaking, for want of a better term. Minimal intervention, minimal handling of the wine. Let the wine make itself, let the grapes grow themselves. Grapes are all hand-picked, usually from organically farmed small growers within the region. Hand-picked, brought to the winery, put through a crusher. Everything's done by hand, so it's buckets and shovels, pitchforks, hands, feet. The old school way of doing things. The wines are wild fermented, they're unfined and unfiltered through the process, which means we're not introducing anything to the wine and we're not taking anything out. So what the grapes that come into the winery, what you see is what you get, and that's what you work with, and every year can be different. You're not aiming for anything in particular with each wine. You're letting the wine make itself. You're guiding it, you're nurturing it, you're making sure it doesn't go off the rails in a sense, because we're still dealing with a biological live product in a sense. So we just watch over them. Wild ferment essentially means that you're not introducing yeast and also any food for the yeast. You're relying on the natural yeast that's in the air, airborne on things. In the vineyard, in the winery. So every year all our wines go through a wild ferment. Now that also means every year can be different, so the wild ferment is not excluding anything that's been in the air at that time. So whilst other wineries might go, okay, we want to make the same wine every year that's as good as last year, as good as last year. So it's like a recipe in a sense. It's not a bad recipe, it's just the way of the world, but for us we don't want that recipe. We want the recipe to come from the grapes in that year from that site. There's a growing trend for people to want to learn more about what they're putting in their mouth, what they're eating, what they're drinking. And so we just fit into that quite neatly, and it's not about trying to fit into that for the customer, it's what we believe too, so it's important to us. So the customers are very keen on learning how we do things, and if they come to the winery and get to see the action during vintage, and they go, wow, wine actually is made like the old-fashioned way, because even though they romanticise about that kind of idea, they understand also that there are big wineries with massive stainless steel tanks and massive technology just pumping out juice. So when they come here and they see what we do, or they come to Cellador and learn what we do, they love it. It's a creative art for us, so in terms of everything we do, and even during vintage, there's often not a plan. You know, things happen and you go, wow, I like to look at that, let's keep that separate, or let's put that with that, or, you know, these things happen throughout vintage. Historically, you would have to, you know, buy a property, plant vines, watch them grow, make wine. That was the sort of model. But for us, you know, we've come in at the end where we're winemakers first, and we've created a label, and then we go seeking the grapes that we need for that. So we don't own the vineyards. We use growers, a core bunch of growers that we've used for many, many years, who understand what we need, and we understand their needs as well. It's a partnership, really, at the end of the day. But that model allows us to, you know, to be involved in the wine industry without too much of the cost prohibitive outlays that are involved in starting from scratch. Yes, we lean on very heavily towards, you know, sustainability at all levels, creativity at all levels, and, you know, art versus science, if you like, at all levels.